Yes.
And you'll bring in the bells so we can all do our bell.
Boom, 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 boom.
Four men in a wormhole. Welcome to Four Men in a Wormhole. I'm your host, Stephen Gurevitz, and joining us ever is Adam Leach.
Hello.
Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Lovely to hear from you.
Good.
And joining us is Simon Cohen.
Hello.
Hello. Are you well, Simon Cohen?
I'm very good, thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm still doing great since Adam asked.
Since Adam asked you. Okay,
Yes,
just checking.
absolutely. And Tal, as always, thank you for joining us.
Hello, how are you, Stephen?
I'm fine, Tal.
Good.
I've been at school with your teacher. I'm fine. How are you, Tal?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. It's good to see you here. And as this is the last episode of the current season, we do have a special episode next, which will be a look back at the first and maybe only season of One Division. Not One Direction, but One Division. But this is the final one of this season. And joining us is a special guest. We have our good friend Marina. Hello, Marina.
Hello. I won't ask you how you are.
You should know by now. So Marina is a wormy of the episode. Welcome. There'll be a special feature where we do learn a bit about Marina and have a special quiz later. But for now, thank you for joining us, and obviously we look forward to your contributions as we go on. So moving forward, we're going to dive straight into our normal routine, and we're going to ask people what sci-fi have they enjoyed, or science fiction news, or even science news, just to annoy Simon. What news or thing have they consumed since the last episode, which is worth talking about? So I'm going to dive in first for a change, and but the thing that caught my eye is more of science fiction news rather than something I've watched, and that was that Scott Bakula might be leaping back into Quantum Leap. And I think that's really cool. I mean, I know everyone is rebooting everything at the moment, not least because they've got to fill Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and whatever it is that's out there, Stars and all these other different platforms. But Quantum Leap, I think, is worth rebooting or at least revisiting. Adam, you've got something to say.
Scott Bakula, is that Captain Archer? Is that the guy that played the main guy in Quantum Leap?
That's the guy that played the main guy in Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
No, I'm quite excited about Quantum Leap.
This is good news.
We can tell.
Yeah.
And also the other person I used to love in Quantum Leap was his I've forgotten the name of the character, but his mate who was back in his time zone.
Was it Ziggy? Was it Ziggy?
No, that's Ziggy's the computer.
Ziggy was the computer. Was it Al?
Al. I think it was Al. I think it was Al, or that's just because Paul Simon had a song out roughly the same time with that in. And also the guy who played Al, Dean, I'm sure it's Dean someone or another. He was a big character. As I can see Simon's Googling this, thank you. He was a big character in the BSG remake, and he's a terrific actor.
Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell. There we go. He's a terrific actor, so I don't know if he would come back as well. But I think it was a great concept. I don't know how they'd bring it back. I wouldn't want them to do a reboot. But for those of you, I don't mind doing a spoiler because if you haven't watched it by now, you're not going to. But the original Quantum Leap, the very last episode. Who's anyone here seen the last episode?
I don't think
I can't remember. But
seen the last episode.
He was supposed to get home, wasn't he? And it was just it ended just as he leapt, but we never really knew. Or
was God in it? Was God in the last episode?
He was in a bar. He was in a bar, and it was God's bar. And I'll tell you something actually very interesting because I often watch the interviews of TV producers and directors and actors and whatnot. But the producer of the show, that was his dad's bar, as in when he grew up, his dad owned a bar, and so they recreated that bar perfectly for that episode. So it wasn't his actual dad's bar, but it was a like for like recreation, the same photos. They did it exactly based on how he wanted it. So he get to relive his growing up as a kid.
That's a massive spoiler, Stephen. I mean, now I know it's the producer's dad's bar. I mean, I'm just not going to watch the last episode now.
I know, probably,
That's just ranked it for me.
It hasn't been repeated for. It used to be on, was it on BBC Two or something? It used to be on or something, wasn't it? Or
I don't know if it's hidden away on some streaming channel that none of us can
I'm
get
just amazed it never made it. It hasn't made it to Netflix or Amazon or something like that. I don't know what's happened with.
Well, who's it owned by? Go on, Mr. Someone Google it. Who's it owned by? Who owns Quantum Leap? Is it Paramount? Will it be on Paramount Plus? Simon, you're going to do?
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
Well, you're the designated Googler. You're the designated Googler. But anyway, my point was the last episode he was with God, or it was inferred that it was God, and he had nowhere left to jump to. So and it was left hanging whether he jumped home or whether actually he jumped to his death, if you know what I mean, because it took on a sort of a semi-spiritual element. So obviously, if he jumped to heaven, how would that even work if they're going to bring the whole thing back? So it'd be interesting to see how they play that.
It was on NBC, and just while I'm here with interesting facts, do you know what year it started?
Oh God, it's going to be old.
1996.
Earlier.
1993.
1989.
Wow. Later. So that was my highlight of the week, is seeing that news. Tal, you wanted to discuss your favourite subject to do.
Well, one of my favourite subjects, but as regular listeners to the show might remember or might realise, is that
still makes me laugh. That still makes me laugh. But
is that I'd say about 80% of my sci-fi watching these days is governed by my children, really. But I'm not complaining about that, because I'm actually quite lucky that both my girls actually are really into their sci-fi. And
you like your children,
and I do like my children, so that's double bonus. And so this last week I've literally binge watched the first 2 seasons of sorry, it's my cat being a bit silly. Hello, say hello. It's not flirking. We've pretty much binge watched the first season, because it's not really the first season, but the first season of the rebooted Doctor Who. So I guess if I'm looking on my people behind here, it's from Christopher Eccleston. I'm going to pick his nose here. And then we're just sort of up to Christopher Eccleston, and we've gone on to David Tennant at the moment. So we've done the first season, and we've done the second season, so the first David Tennant season. And I know, Stephen, you probably have an issue with this, because I know you have an issue with Doctor Who in general, but I was just really pleasantly surprised. I mean, obviously I was sort of watching it with my kids' excitement, but I was pleasantly surprised at just how well it stood up. And also it's Russell T Davies and it's Stephen Moffat, and they're just brilliant writers, and they're just, the characterization and everything, the way they've done it and brought it to life, I thought was actually really well done.
I think, Tal, you've got a good some excellent viewing to come, because I think it just gets better and better through David Tennant and then into Matt Smith. So I think it's kind of prime.
It's quite nice, because we'd watched all of the Marvel stuff and all of the X-Men stuff. The kids were kind of a bit like, oh no, and all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They've seen all of that as well. So they've been literally watching so much. And it was like, so it's nice to have a kind of I think there's like 13 seasons or something of Doctor Who or something. So there's a fair few of them still to come for them to sort of re-enjoy and see. And obviously, Marina.
Yes. Oh, yeah, no, we've also recently started watching some of the Doctor Who's, also starting with Christopher Eccleston with one of my kids. They're just loving it.
Yeah, they really enjoy it. And
you guys go back to the earlier ones, like the
this is it.
Peter Davis or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I was trying to.
The boy who I enjoyed. I used to like his.
Yeah, I've been chatting to the girls about the earlier ones. And I haven't actually shown them any of them as of yet. Obviously, I was sort of talking, because I guess for us it was like we sort of caught the tail end of Tom Baker, and then obviously Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and we're kind of our generation of doctors. And I kind of like think it would be quite nice. I mean, I really enjoyed Peter Davison as a doctor. I thought he was really good. And then I was never sure about Colin Baker. I found him a bit creepy, and Sylvester McCoy. It was just really a bit obnoxious, deliberately obnoxious. Yes, Adam.
So fun fact about Peter Davison. So David Tennant is married to the daughter of Peter Davison.
Yep.
How
Yes.
cool is
Oh,
Who?
as in the
who
woman that's in Staged, the girl that's in Staged.
that? The woman,
that's his real wife. I didn't.
and do you know where he met her?
Yes, on the set of Doctor Who.
She played his daughter, well, his sort of
daughter.
clone daughter thing. So
But
yeah, it's quite incestuous.
How cool is it for like David Tennant's kids to know their dad and their grandpa both played Doctor Who? I just think that's
pretty good.
But isn't it confusing because aren't they technically the same person?
Yes. So yes, that's confusing.
Yeah, that is confusing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And then he married his daughter in the show.
Yeah, it's just wrong in so many ways.
Yeah. So I will try and dig out some of the old ones, I think. I don't know, Marina, are you going to bother with any of the older stuff? Do you think?
I think we've got quite a lot to keep us going.
Yeah, that's it. I think, and that's the thing. And I guess the new ones they're obviously made. The production values are, they're still not in the realm of Marvel, but they're a lot.
Don't know what you mean, Sal.
But they're a lot up from the old Tom Baker.
I don't think you should go. I don't think they would stand up. I just don't think the girls or any of the kids at the moment would. I think you could show a couple. I think
I'll go on YouTube or something and find a couple of best.
I've watched some of them. There's some good stories there, but Adam, you would hate it though because the production is obviously, if you think the production is bad now, then you go back then and it's you can literally see the toilet rolls and the corrugated iron.
I don't have an issue with the production.
It's just me,
Stephen.
Stephen's problem is with only 2 people being on screen at any one time.
Yeah, but it's generally poor
and it being low budget, I think.
Yeah. But I think there's a connection there. I think if they had a higher budget, they could afford more people.
True. That's me. Moving on, I think. But yeah, that's. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of them. I think it'd be good. And Matt Smith, I think, was still my favourite. So I'm gonna look forward to seeing his.
We'll come back and report to us on how much the girls are enjoying them. So, Adam, you've got potentially 2 things you wish to talk about. One of which is a problem, and you seem to have been stuck on that problem for a very long time.
So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. So I was inspired by watching WandaVision, and they were kind of allegedly didn't introduce some characters from X-Men into it. And obviously there's the Disney now owning Fox, and there's this kind of ahead maybe the introduction of the X-Men into the MCU. And I just hadn't seen many. I'd seen maybe half of I was kind of aware of the X-Men movies, but I thought, well, I'll sit down and watch the trilogy on Disney Plus. I started with X-Men, watched X2, and then watched X-Men Last Stand, and then I've just started Days of Future Past. And I thought this would give me lots to talk about, but it doesn't really, because they're just sort of all right. I mean, they're not great and they're not really rubbish. They're just kind of all right. So it doesn't really give me much to talk about. But I did.
They don't hang together as well as a series as well. So I think when you watch them all together, they're kind of all right as individual films. But I think with Marvel, I like the fact that there's just more
continuity.
More an overarching story sort of going through stuff. Even if they're about different things, it just seems to link better.
And there seems to be one of the movies missing from Disney Plus. So I was trying to do it in kind of
we had to buy that, I think. Yeah,
and there's one missing. And suddenly a load of them come back from the dead, and it's like, I think, okay, well, maybe that's explained in the movie that's missing.
I don't think it is actually, but it's on Amazon Prime. I think we rented it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
The Wolverine movies are good, aren't they? I remember there was an Origins movie for Wolverine, and then the final one, which I think was just called Logan, which was his real name, which was largely him and Patrick Stewart. They were both very good. I think.
There's three Logan movies though. There's a kind of Logan, or X-Men Origins Logan, Wolverine. Then there's one just called Wolverine. There's only about like a year or so apart. They just look almost, all the graphics to it almost look identical, like it could be the same film. And then there's Logan, and I saw Logan.
Logan you can't watch with the kids because it's an 18, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw Logan in the cinema. I thought it was good.
Really good. Yeah, it's good, but gonna have to watch it.
So I watched some other bits and pieces, but I did then go back and watch, and I've been doing a bit like Utah, watching with my youngest a lot of, we watched Highlander and watched some other bits that we talked, and Star Wars, which we talked about last episode. And he's kind of got a bit disenfranchised with Daddy's crap taste in movies, but we sat down and watched The Matrix, and which is one of my all-time favorite movies. and I'm pleased to report he absolutely loved it.
Oh,
So,
great.
You're getting ready for the fourth movie, then? You're getting ready for the fourth?
Well, yeah. Now we've got to do 2 and 3, and then we'll get ready for the fourth one. Yeah.
When is 4?
Well, wasn't it due to come out this year? I mean, who knows now with the pandemic when it's due to.
Yeah, it's been pushed back. It's been pushed back. But
are the original films available on it? What are they on? Do you know?
Yeah, well, this was Amazon Prime, so I just watched
fine.
The Matrix on Amazon Prime, and I think they've got the sequels on Amazon Prime as well.
yeah, and they're definitely on Sky. They're definitely on Sky. I think they're on Amazon. Yeah, I enjoyed the Matrix movies. I have to be honest. I think me and my wife slept through. I don't want to say my wife because you all know her as Natalie. I think we slept through the second one because we just arrived in Disney World for our honeymoon. So that was quite a few years ago. And the time and the first night, we're like, what should we do? We have to stay awake. We just got here, and the time difference. So we went to the cinema.
I like the fact that it was literally on your honeymoon and she's watching Sci-Fi. So it literally was the honeymoon period of your relationship.
Absolutely.
Still willing to watch Sci-Fi with you.
The thing is, we had to stay awake because of the time difference. We didn't want to go to bed when we wanted to go to bed. And we're like, let's go to the cinema. But it didn't really pan out because we sat down and just went to sleep in the cinema.
Yeah.
So there's luckily
that'll happen when you're in a dark room and you're tired, Stephen.
Yeah. Luckily, it's such a long movie that we did manage to watch the beginning of it and the end of it, and we only missed an hour in between because of the length of it. I think we just missed one of the fight sequences. I remember them going on and on. So so I look forward to the Matrix coming. And Adam, you may have decided not to talk about this, in which case I'll cut it. But were you going to talk about the three-bodied problem?
Oh, is that the problem? See, I did not know what problem you were referring to.
There's so many. You've got so many
problems. You were like, and you've got a problem. I was like, I don't know what problem.
No. Well, luckily you got three for that one. I'm talking about the one that you can't.
Yeah, so I am still reading because we had on our reading list the three-body problem, and I took it out of the book club of our second book club. But I am still trying to read it. It is. It's hard going, so I'm trying to get through it, but I haven't finished it yet. So I'll come back and report when I finished it.
So the problem is you can't finish it. Is that
I haven't finished it yet, but I will finish it. I am going to get to the
end. Thank you, Adam, for showing all of that. And lastly, we come to Mr. Cohen. Simon, you've got a couple of things I think you want to talk about. One which you feel I forced upon you. I don't think I did. But
no, you did.
No, I'm pretty sure I didn't. And the other one is you're really digging stuff up from the past. So over to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Over to me. Yeah, you told me to go and watch Tribes of Europa. I think you'd read some good reviews of it. Tribes of Europa is on. It's on Netflix in the UK. I think it's a Netflix show.
I saw no reviews. I just thought the trailer was.
You saw the trailer. You saw the trailer.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't see the trailer, but maybe I should have done. This is a weird show, right? It's largely foreign languages. It's in German and a bit of English. It's set in the not too distant future. I'm not exactly sure when. There's been some kind of global catastrophe. Most tech isn't working anymore. Society's fractured, and there's loads of tribes and factions that are just sort of fighting with each other and battling with each other. And I have to say, I wasn't impressed. I only got as far as the end of episode 2 before I gave up. It wasn't convincing. It was poorly made and acted, and I'm very annoyed with you for making me go and watch that, Stephen.
You're welcome.
But the weird thing is that
on a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Solid recommendation.
So are you saying we shouldn't watch it?
I'm saying you shouldn't watch it, but actually, if you have a look at some of the reviews on the web, other people are saying you should. So Rotten Tomatoes has got it about 88% and 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Maybe I'm the only person that doesn't like it, but that's what I thought.
How many seasons are there? Is it just the one?
I think it's just one season. Maybe when I'm really bored, I'll go and have another look. But really, it was an effort to get to the end of episode 2. It just didn't do anything for me. Nothing at all. So I stopped watching that.
Better off watching some short films on Dust then, probably.
Yeah, probably are. Yeah, because this just wasn't. It just wasn't convincing. When things are believable and things aren't. I know it's sci-fi, and you've got to believe in it to a certain extent, but I just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me.
Suspend your disbelief.
I couldn't do that. No. And so then I wasn't watching any sci-fi, and then suddenly my son said, "Dad, should we watch what? Have you watched Lost?" The show from, I don't know how long it was, 20 years ago, with the plane crash and the people on the island, and we've started watching that. And actually, my daughter watched a few episodes with me. She's 11, and actually she started to get a bit scared and have nightmares. So she stopped watching it. But my wife's watched it. We've watched some episodes all together. It's I know some people got disappointed with Lost because it kind of lost its way a little bit in the sort of the middle couple of seasons, but I think it's a really good show. I watched it to the end when it was on originally. I thought it was great. A little bit confusing in places, but always found its way back for me, and I really enjoyed it.
Question, because you pretty much summed up my experience of Lost. I absolutely loved it when it first started. I devoured every episode and really wanted to know what was going to happen next. And then I completely lost interest at one point. And did it actually resolve itself? I mean, without maybe
it did, but there's a reason why it lost its way, because the writers and J.J. Abrams was involved, and I apologise. I can't remember. Sorry,
it wasn't the writers' strike at the time.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the writers' strike. It was they didn't know how many seasons they were going to get, so they had like they knew how they wanted to start the story. They knew what it was about, and they knew where they wanted to get to, but they didn't know how many seasons there were going to be. So seasons 3 and 4 were just all over the place. Not much happened. It sort of meandered, and that's when a lot of people I think lost interest. And then finally they knew that they were going to get, I can't remember, 6 or 7 seasons, but the last couple of seasons are good. It gets back on track. It's going somewhere. Suddenly the mysteries of the island are resolved, and yeah, it had a weird ending. Can I say the ending?
Yeah. Such an old show.
Yeah, the ending was a bit weird and a bit disappointing. But it for the whole of the last season, they kept showing all of the characters, including some of the characters that had left, back in the real world. Or I think maybe they were in LA, or I can't remember exactly where they were. Like they couldn't remember what had happened. They couldn't remember the island. They were sort of interacting with each other. And then one of them, I think, worked out where they'd all come from and was trying to piece it all together. It turned out, I believe, that they were in limbo, as in the place that you go to between life and death before you get to heaven. Apparently, they were all waiting in limbo for them all to be together so they could go on to heaven together. It was something weird like that, like really bizarre, given the show was kind of a mix of, mystery, sci-fi, a bit of fantasy, and then had a bit of a weird sort of spiritual, almost religious ending, which still worked, but it was just a bizarre ending.
Almost a bit Quantum Leap like. Spiritually, are we dead? Are we not dead? Are we going?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I'll give that.
Which a few shows do. I mean, without giving too much away, one of the characters in BSG has that same kind of experience at the end of BSG. Battlestar Galactica, for those of you who don't know. So
anyway, in summary, Tribes of Europa, don't bother, but Lost, go back and watch that. It's a good show.
So moving on, we're going to move on to our main feature, featuring our special guest, Marina.
It has a name, though. It has a name.
Oh, it has a name. It does have a name.
Yeah.
The main feature this week is we are inviting Marina to enter. I'm going to say this again. Invite Marina to enter the wormhole.
There should be Marina enters the wormhole. I think that's it.
Hello, Marina.
Hello.
How are you finding our wormhole, Marina?
Welcome to our wormhole.
Honoured to be part of it.
Yes, and of course, you're for those who don't know, Marina's a good friend of ours. We're hoping this may be a feature that we repeat in season 2 with other people we know, and maybe eventually people we don't know. Even though we'll need to know them a little bit just to get them on the show. So, Marina, obviously this is a cheap shot, but your name obviously is from Stingray.
Yes, it is. And that's not why I was named, but yes.
Yes, I thought it might be why you named. I was looking for a direct sci-fi link there. And by the way, definitely sci-fi Stingray, guys. Definitely sci-fi. And you're, as we said, you're one of our regular listeners or viewers of the podcast. So even though you have been in denial about your love of sci-fi to me in private, you must have some interest. So I've got some questions so we can learn a bit more about your loves and tastes to do with the subject of sci-fi or science fiction, because some people think they're not the same, even though I don't quite understand that. So tell us, Marina, expand on your love of sci-fi. What are you into? What are you not into? Tell us, educate us.
Well, what I'm not into, sorry, Simon, is Star Trek, but I think we've established that's just because I've never watched any.
Boo.
I think maybe we should have just been a clarifying question to ask people before they join the podcast.
First Contact, Marina. Not even First Contact.
Not even First Contact.
Not even the Wrath of Khan. Not even the Wrath of Khan.
The Wrath of whatever. No.
Even Natalie's watched the Wrath of Khan. Even Natalie has, but
on your honeymoon, was that on your honeymoon? Was that literally on your honeymoon?
Yeah, that was on our honeymoon. So anyway, so you're not into Star Trek, but what are you into?
What am I into? Well, as you can see, Star Wars is something we all grew up with. I would never say I was a massive Star Wars fan, but I'm loving Mandalorian. I say loving current because I'm only now watching it. So just seen series 1, which is great. It's really good fun, and Baby Yoda's just brilliant and hilarious. And looking forward to season 2.
So have you finished season 1?
Yeah.
So okay, so if you've been listening to our podcast, you probably already have had some spoilers, but you will absolutely.
No, just try not to listen to those. And trying to blank out that somebody mentioned that one of the Star Wars characters appeared at the end.
Yeah, but I don't think we did that.
We didn't tell you who.
We didn't spoil it. Didn't say who.
It might be Jar Jar Binks, but it's not. So that's such. You love your world of Star Wars, even though we're still not too sure if it is sci-fi. What else are you into? What else are you into?
What else? I mean, for me, like my favorite film ever is Back to the Future.
Very good.
Lots of nods of approval.
Lots of nods.
Don't work so well on podcasts, but we are nodding.
And I've rewatched all of them with the kids during lockdown, which has just been brilliant. I love it. It's so clever, and there's so many little things in there that you just notice differently each time. Very clever and great fun.
I saw someone on Twitter describe it as the perfect movie. I think it's in with a shout as the perfect movie. I think.
Which is your favorite, Marina? 1, 2, or 3?
1.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Which is your worst?
3.
Yeah, of course it's 3. I mean, does anyone like 3 more than 2? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
2 is quite clever, the way it works out. I mean, 1's classic, but 3, I mean, it's different. Unlike your Ready Player 1, Ready Player 2, which I loved. I loved Ready Player 1, enjoyed Ready Player 2. It felt like more of the same. At least Back to the Future 3 did something totally different.
Yeah, on track with a train though, which I can't really get on board with.
Hey.
But Marina, you mentioned to me there were the books that got you into sci-fi that you'd read.
Yeah, so I love reading books, and if people recommend books, I don't sit and worry, oh, that's not my genre, oh, I do read that, I don't read that. So obviously read Hitchhikers back in the day, brilliant, really enjoyed them. And I think the one I mentioned to you that I really enjoyed years ago was Flowers for Algernon.
About to say, you introduced me. You introduced me to that book. It's really funny, actually. And I dug it out of the shelf the other day. I'm going to reread it, I think, quite soon, because I think Poppy's still a little bit young. There's some quite adult themes in there, but I think fairly soon she'll be up for reading that. So I think it's a great book, that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book. It's not too long a read, and it's just a fascinating concept. I don't remember a lot of things that I read. I remember whether I like them or not, but that one's really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's really moving.
Are you a fan of Asimov?
So I felt I've got to read some Asimov. I've just got to. Let me, at least to join in the conversation, let me at least read. So I went right back to Foundation.
And
I did enjoy it. It was a really interesting concept. I mean, that's what I love about sci-fi, just the concept. It's somebody else's ideas and how their brains work. So a fascinating concept. Was it a thrilling page turner? No, but definitely worth a read.
And it builds. And I tell you something interesting about Foundation. For those who haven't read it, one of the major points of Foundation is that there's a group of mysterious people who, in effect, can manipulate the actions of others and play around with algorithms and things to affect how society will work on a macro level. But they get it down to such a science they can even do it on a micro level. But we actually do now live in a similar society where we do have people with algorithms who affect huge things on a macro level, whether it be obviously the algorithms of all the social media engines and everything else, or whether it even be politicians nowadays. And what's his name, Dominic Cummings, who used to be in government, he had a whole department focusing on getting probabilities and looking at social behavioral experiments, and then trying to work out what levers they could pull to make people do stuff. That was his whole thing, and that was the whole Cambridge Analytica thing.
Ministry of Probabilities sounds like something from Orwellian sort of 1984.
Or Monty Python. Yeah, they have their own funny walk. But actually, that was his whole thing. He was bringing in consultants, and that was the whole Cambridge Analytica thing. So a lot of what was in Foundation, which seemed obviously science fiction, it's become real in our lifetime, at least on a macro level. So yeah, I'm glad you picked up some Asimov, so that you've gone up in my approval ratings. Excellent.
Have you read the whole series, Marina, or was it just the first book? Or
just Foundation?
Yeah.
You've got to stick with it. Read the whole series, and once you've done that, go back and read every single one of his other stories, because you'll then realise they all join together. They all join together. It's all one. He just wrote one big story.
You're very excited about that, but actually it's quite you can tell it's kind of written in the kind of 50s or 60s. It's quite clunky storytelling, isn't it? The narrative doesn't just flow. It's quite a hard read.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I felt about it.
I think it's great. You've got to get to read all of it. Anyway, and so are there any cult sci-fi TV series that you don't watch anymore, that you've even forgotten you watch, but now I've reminded you? Did you used to watch Buck Rogers back in the day? Did you watch the original Battlestar Galactica? Are there things that are secrets that you've never revealed to anyone up until now because you feel people will look down on you? Because here, no one will look down on you. Will only elevate you higher.
It's a safe space.
So no Battlestar Galactica, never watched any of those, but you've mentioned Quantum Leap, loved that. I mean, who didn't? And the other one, actually, now you've just reminded me, Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf.
Now you're talking.
Red Dwarf.
We haven't talked about Red Dwarf, have
we? We haven't.
No, we should do a whole episode on Red Dwarf.
Yeah, we should do. I love Red Dwarf. I think that's something I've talked about before, is that in a lot of ways, the kind of comedy got me more into sci-fi, and Red Dwarf was a great example of that, where it's just funny and watchable, and then also it all happens to be sci-fi as well.
And comedy sci-fi sometimes allows them to be even more preposterous with their sci-fi, because everyone's suspending their disbelief even more, so they can just suddenly say, "Look, there's a whatever."
There's a cat. There's not a cat anymore.
Oh, I love Red Dwarf. Yeah, we should have is there any Red Dwarf questions later?
No, I should have brought in a Red Dwarf question.
So moving on to the big quiz. So let me explain to our many listeners and viewers out there, 90% of who are the guests on this episode, on what the purpose of the quiz is and how the quiz will run. So we're going to do a quiz, but we're not testing Marina. Marina's going to ask us, the four men in a wormhole, some what are known as questions. And
you've really going back to the basics about really just break it down for our listeners, just in case.
Well, especially for those listening, they may find it hard to imagine how a quiz may work. So we're going to be given questions, and the idea is that we should provide answers, and the idea is every time a new guest comes on, we will repeat this process, and we will in fact be running a league table between us, the four men in a wormhole, over a period of time to see who can be at the top of the leaderboard, who has the most sci-fi knowledge. So this is the guest testing the four men. I think
I just have to say, I know that a few of you have referred to me as the learned one. And I feel that going into doing this quiz, is either going to massively disprove that, and therefore that's going to be dropped, or I'm going to continue to be called the learned one with a massive dose of irony. So either of those two outcomes is going to be what's going to happen next.
I just feel you're getting in your excuses early. But just so explain a bit more how it will work, Marina will ask the question, and then each of us will attempt to answer it using our buzzer. And we each have a unique sound, which we will demonstrate in a minute. However, just to make it easier for Marina, as well as making the sound, we will also put our hands up, which won't work for the podcast audience, but it will work for Marina. So simultaneously, my sound is the sound of an alien monster. And so, for example, I would do this.
That did look like you were just passing winds.
Yes, yeah.
It's
Well,
like just I want to say
that if you see one of us passing wind, Marina, that is also means they may have the answer. So my sound, I'll just let you know again, is this.
I don't think that's sci-fi. I just don't think that's sci-fi enough.
It is. So if you're being attacked by a monster in the future, that's what it's going to sound like. So Adam, what's your sound?
My sound is very sci-fi.
Nice.
Excellent. And Tal, what's your sound?
Oh, it stopped. There we go.
Red alert.
The red alert. So Marina will never pick you because she hates
She doesn't even know what that is. She doesn't know what that is.
And then Simon, you've gone. I mean, I don't know why Adam's moaning about my monster. You've gone for what?
No, that's just ridiculous. I mean, can you just show what that is? It's not even digital sound, is it?
No, it's an actual bell.
I mean, that
actual bell.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that feels quite Hitchhikers, though. I can imagine them having a bell at the restaurant at the end of the universe or something.
Yeah,
I think they probably do. Yeah, let's go with that.
I'd like to say about a roar as well, because I don't think a roar is very sci-fi. Apart from the roar that they use in RoboCop, the original, in Ed 209. So Ed 209.
Blimey, how on earth do you remember that?
In Ed 209, when he goes, "You've got 30 seconds to comply," is actually they digitize a lion roar. It is ridiculous when you watch it and realize it's a lion's roar. But I just go back on YouTube, RoboCop original Ed 209.
They use animal noises a lot in movies. So if you watch Raging Bull, the boxing movie, all the noises of the people when they're in the ring are animal noises slowed down. It's not the noise of the people at all. But talking of which, because you are attacking I know Marina is very keen to ask us these questions
that we will provide answers
for.
Answers
it's a bit like Manish Turner. But you attacking my monster sound. But I just want to point out in the Mandalorian series 2, there is an episode with a monster.
Yeah, but I'd like to point out that we concluded that wasn't sci-fi. So
no, we did. We said it was sci-fi. So there we go. So Marina,
so I've got 2 questions.
But
these aren't quiz questions.
Will never start.
How many questions are there going to be?
5, but I've got a few bonus ones if people want me to throw them in.
And who's keeping score? Is that you, Marina, or do one of us have to keep score?
I'll just make it up.
Okay, fine, good.
So it's really hard to gauge the level of these. I don't know if they're just all going to be impossible or all going to be weird. There's no big introduction other than they're not about Star Trek. I wish I'd thought about Red Dwarf earlier because they would have been about Red Dwarf. But they're about the bits of sci-fi that I watch and I like and I read. We're about to find out if you guys do. Yeah, it's really hard. I was saying it's really hard for me to pitch it because I don't know quite the level, but we'll find out. So let's kick it off. Either they're going to be impossible or too easy. Right, number 1. What is Baby Yoda's real name? Ooh, Adam.
Grogu.
Yeah.
That check me out with my Star Wars knowledge.
Check you out. Right, 1 to Adam. Keeping score. Number 2. What was James Halliday and Ogden Morrow's company, which operates the Oasis, called?
It's Gregarious Games, Gregarious Simulations. Gregarious Simulation Systems?
Yes, very impressive.
There we go.
Very impressive. Boom, Adam 2. This is... Right, this one, possibly one for Stephen.
Right.
What was the name of the character in Foundation who created Psychohistory?
Oh my God, I should know this.
I have read this since I was 14 or 15.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I should have buzzed. I buzzed incorrectly there.
Right, Adam.
Does he lose a point for that?
No.
Yeah, no. I'll give you his first name. See if that... Oh.
That's just coming.
I'm worried about giving this answer because it's a bit of a big spoiler.
Shall I give a first name?
Daniil.
I'll give a first name. Harry.
Redknapp. Yeah. I can't.
Harry Thatcher.
Harry Seldon.
Harry Seldon. That's the guy.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, I
Too late now, Stephen.
I remember Harry Seldon.
This is how it works. See, Marina will ask a question. You provide the correct answer.
No. I really do remember.
Before I give it.
I read all of Asimov's work before.
We know you've mentioned that a few times.
Before the age of 16. So that's a long time ago.
You should read them. They're good.
Yeah, I got them down from the loft.
Okay. In what decade was 2001: A Space Odyssey released? I'm going to go tell.
70s.
No. Adam.
1960. It was like 69.
1968, but yeah.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom. Close though, Tal. What character did Matt Damon play in The Martian? Stephen.
I've forgotten. Astronaut.
Yeah, an astronaut, yeah.
An astronaut. His name was
Mark. Oh.
Mark Watney.
Yes.
Oh God! You know what?
Every time you say it, Marina, I'm like, yeah.
That's right. I got it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that. I watched The Martian between the last episodes, and I can't believe it didn't come to mind.
Can't believe you didn't remember. It's brilliant. Love that film.
The book is so much better though. That's you watch the film. It reminds you how great the book is though.
But Adam, I have to say, I just find it so much easier to get the right answer after Marina said it.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just edit it all.
Yeah, you
to make it look like you got the right answer.
On this one.
Absolutely. So, have you got any more questions for Marina?
Yeah. Who played the two lead characters in Gravity? Adam.
George Clooney, and
I want this one.
Too late. Simon. Who's the other? Yes.
Yeah.
Sandra Bullock.
But hold on. So, do I get half a point? And
No, you didn't give me both answers.
Well, surely we should. Otherwise, I might not get any points. Let's give us half a point each.
He's got loads of points.
I haven't got any though.
So you can have one. You've got that one.
You. Okay.
Okay. I've got an easy one.
I've lost my buzzer. Wait a minute, I've lost my buzzer.
Just put your hand up. An easy one. What speed did the DeLorean need to reach? How?
88 miles an hour.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were going to, because you've just said Sandra Bullock, I thought you were going to say what speed does the not have to go above?
That's on Sci-Fi.
No, but I just Sandra Bullock. And that's 50, and I think it was 55, was it not?
Yes, it was. Are we going to have a question about Miss Congeniality?
That's easy for you to say.
Hey.
Do you want one last question?
Yeah, God.
Last one.
Not if Adam gets it. You can just edit that out. We just won't.
Okay. I won't ask Adam even if he buzzes in.
I'm getting penalised now.
Who wrote Jurassic Park? Stephen.
Oh, Crichton.
Yes. Michael Crichton. Yes.
Crichton, yes. There we go.
Yeah, I'm giving that to you.
Thank you. Well, on that bombshell.
What's the scores?
Scores? Very close. Adam with 3, Simon Tell, Stephen with 1 each.
Oh, it's all to play for over the next season. All to play for.
I think that was a good level, the question.
Yeah, very good.
I think that was excellent. I think it's excellent. And Adam, the pressure essentially is on you moving forward. You can only lose from here.
I can only get worse.
Yeah. Marina, that was excellent. Thank you so much for providing our inaugural 4 Men in a Wormhole quiz. And if we could award you a prize or maybe a badge, we would, but we don't have one. However, on this breaking news, we have discovered how we can produce merchandise. And so we're going to produce some 4 Men in a Wormhole t-shirts, and we will get you one.
I look forward to that.
Big serious,
guys. Going to have our faces on it.
Yes, it's going to use the thing. So
I think it will be very unlikely that Marina's going to wear it. sort of faces on it. But anyway.
On that note, Marina, thank you very much for the quiz. That concludes that wonderful new feature. Yes, Adam is in the lead, and the rest of us will soon catch him up, no doubt, over the next series. So that leads us to our regular, and maybe the last one for some time. Carl's feature. And this week, Tal, we're ending with a bang, are we not?
Yes. This could be the last one ever, being the end of the season and everything. But so because of that, I thought that it would be good to have an all-out brawl this episode. But I think it's going to be actually quite a difficult one to work out because there's actually going to be there will be a bit of discussion because it's going to be the Justice League versus the Avengers, which I thought would be quite good. Now the problem is, first thing we've got to agree on, which I know we never agree on anything, is who we count as the Avengers, because the problem is there's quite a few within. Well, because obviously, do you go end game, in which case it's like pretty much all of them. You know, you've got Doctor Strange and everything else in there, or do you go with kind of the original was 6? So the original 6, I believe, were...
How many in the Justice League, Tom?
There's 7 in the Justice League.
So then maybe we just do the original 6.
I think, to be honest, you should have thought this through before you kind of, you know...
Well, no, I just thought we could have an argument about it and not agree on anything.
What about the original 6 plus Spider-Man? Then it's 7v7.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Okay,
yeah. So right, Justice League, we have the obvious ones: Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, Batman. You've then got who have I? Oh, Green Lantern I haven't mentioned, and then the other one who I knew nothing about, who I don't think maybe even features in any of the films. I'm not sure. I might be wrong. This goes to show how little I know about DC versus Marvel, but Martian Man Hunter, who apparently has pretty much all the powers that Superman has, plus some others like invisibility, phasing, like Vision can phase and stuff, can walk through walls and stuff. So that's the 7 for the Justice League. And then obviously we've got the Avengers. We have Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Oh, actually, no, it is 7 if you include War Machine, and then you've got Vision. So that's without Spider-Man. That's 8, isn't it? I can't count. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor.
I think the Avengers are going to need Spider-Man.
Well, this is it. I actually think it's funny, isn't it? Because I actually think that we probably do need a few more Avengers than.
I mean, let's be honest. Now, Hawkeye is just a human with arrows, and it seems to be never-ending amounts of arrows, because you'd think after like 12 shots he's done, but he always seems to have one handy. Scott, what's her name? Black Widow. Very sexy, very hypermobile, but yeah, just a person.
You've got Scarlet Witch as well in there, and you've got people like, you've got Spider-Man, you've got Ant-Man as well.
But Scarlet Witch isn't one of the original ones. I think if you're not going to include Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, I think the Avengers are in trouble on this one. I mean, I don't see how they can win it, because they've got too many normal humans. At least they've got
I think
3 humans.
You need to have Vision in there, really, to make it a little bit more. You need Vision and Scarlet Witch to make it a bit more of an even fight, I think.
And Doctor Strange.
Is Scarlet Witch officially an Avenger? Because I know she was taken in by them, but then she didn't really want to hang around. And is she an Avenger?
Well, yeah,
I think so.
I think she is. Yeah,
she was
the original one, but
well, actually, it's a good point. It's a good point, because she was part of the team in Captain America: Civil War where it then split up. But she actually wasn't really in. She was found in Age of Ultron, and by the time Infinity War came around, she wasn't an Avenger at all. So she wasn't for very long.
And even in Civil War, she was being held by Vision in the campus against her will, because they thought she was a threat to everyone.
Yeah.
See, I think Superman's going to need at least 2 or 3 Avengers on him, at least. You know.
Well, this I agree with you.
I think you need the Hulk is going to have to be involved there, and probably the Vision, probably Vision as well. You know.
So are we counting
Oh.
Vision? Are we
Well,
counting
that's
Vision? Are
what
we
I'm saying.
counting
I think-
Doctor
I think
Strange?
we might need to count Vision, but not necessarily Doctor Strange. Actually, interestingly, isn't on the list at all. If you look it up, he's not even mentioned. The extended list is Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, War Machine, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Nebula, and Rocket, which are also Guardians of the Galaxy. So not even, but obviously that's kind of, I guess that's all the ones from Endgame, isn't it? Really more? No, because sort of Strange isn't in there, and he should be.
Right. It is difficult to think that they'd struggle. Any of the Avengers really are going to struggle against Superman unless they bring some kryptonite to the party. And
hold on. Why don't we pitch them off against each other? Why don't we pitch them off against, like Hulk versus Superman? That's a credible fight.
Yeah, that's a credit. Yeah, I think he's the only one who could probably take on Superman out of all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, Batman is just a rich dude.
Well, Iron Man.
Batman is Iron Man, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Batman and Iron Man, and my money would be on Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man would take Batman out. Aquaman doesn't stand a chance against most of these guys, really, does he? I mean, he can just swim and talk to animals, can't he? And he's kind of a bit strong.
So Thor against, I don't know. Yeah, Thor would pretty much take
the Martian, but apparently the Martian Man Hunter.
No one's heard of the Martian Man. Just get up now. No one's heard of that.
Be more powerful than Superman.
No, come off it.
So I don't know whether to include him or not, because he literally has literally everything that Superman has. He has X-ray vision. He has telekinesis.
You'll be wanting to include Dr. Dong for the
And let's be honest, Wonder Woman is like half god.
Yeah, she's good. Well,
the Wonder Woman versus Scarlet Witch is going to be an interesting one, isn't it? But I guess if she's not in it, then I guess who would we put? I mean, because Wonder Woman, Black Widow. I never know how Black Widow survives anything really.
Well, I think I know you haven't listed her, but if you're going to put anyone against Wonder Woman, it would be Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, but she's not part of the Avengers. I think you'd have to put Thor against Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Thor would have to go against Wonder Woman.
They're both godlike.
Yeah, they're both.
So the Flash. Yeah. So we need someone who's quick. I mean, maybe Ant-Man and the Flash would be quite good because they sort of,
Yeah.
Spider-Man and the Flash. But I think the Flash.
Yep. What about Captain America? Who's he going to fight?
Yeah, it's a good point. He could do it all day. So I mean, maybe the Green Lantern.
Green Lantern, yeah, he just
Green Lantern flies around on his little thing, doesn't he? But it's like
Well, the Green Lantern can imagine anything, can't he? So he can.
But wouldn't it be? It would have to be like Ryan Reynolds, and maybe he'd have to fight against himself as Deadpool.
That would be a good cameo.
They've already did they not do that? What happened to Deadpool 2? Did he not go and?
No,
he didn't. I think they made jokes about it.
They made jokes about Green Lantern, but I don't think.
You're right. He did go and kill another version of himself, though, didn't he? He killed another version of Deadpool from the X-Men movies.
Yes.
We've got a bit of an issue here, haven't we? In the fact that we could talk about this all night, and I think Marina might want to go to bed.
You might be sending her to sleep. I think.
Let's take a vote on it. So, Simon, Avengers or the Legends, Justice League. Even.
I'm going with Justice League.
Adam.
I'm going to go Avengers because I can't go DC. I mean, I can't go DC. Why would I go DC?
I don't know. Why would you wear that?
Says with the Superman t-shirt.
Tal, what would you do?
Well, interestingly, I would go, if it was equal numbers, I would go Justice League. If we could include the likes of Vision and Scarlet Witch and chuck a couple of extra in there.
It's your feature, Tal. You choose.
I think we can go with the extended list of the Avengers, and I think they might just have the edge, only because I want them to win. Even though, actually, I think, like I said, on a case-by-case basis, I mean, you've got some pretty hard people in there. The Avengers, like I say, even without Captain Marvel.
Pick one. Pick one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Avengers.
Remind me never to do jury duty with Tal.
So hang on, is it 2-1? Stephen, did you pick one?
No, I haven't picked one. Of course, I could do what Adam does and just go with the majority.
You can just go with the majority.
Yeah, just go with the majority. Out of interest, I want to ask our guest, even though her vote doesn't count, who would you go with, Marina?
Well, it would have to be Avengers if Tal's just thrown in another half a dozen characters.
The whole sub.
What about the numbers?
Tal's from the Donald Trump School of Elections. At the last minute, we'll just load some more characters.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
Exactly. You know what? I'm gonna stick with the original Avengers lineup. I'm gonna go with Justice League. I mean, Justice League has always been more fantastical in terms of their characters, and yes, I think the Avengers would struggle. However, this is the face-off I think we'd all love to see. And who knows, the powers that be may be listening to us. So on that bombshell, what did we say? I said Justice League, Simon said Justice League, but Marina's gone with Avengers, Adam's gone with Avengers, and Tal's gone with Avengers. So the winner is
I think Marina's vote can carry it. Yeah, definitely.
The winner is the Avengers, despite the fact you're wrong. So on that bombshell, we're going to end this week's episode. So this is the final episode of our first ever season of 4 Men in a Wormhole. Thank you for joining us all. Our next episode will be a special one-off where we look back at Wonder Vision. I'd like to thank our special guest, Marina. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Tal, that's how you say goodbye.
That brilliantly.
She's a newbie. She's a newbie, and it's like, look, Adam, thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed every one of Tal's features.
Excellent. Simon, thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye to you. And of course, saving the best for last. Tal Silverman, thank you for joining us.
No pressure. Bye, everyone.
Yay! And this is me, Stephen Gurvitz, your host, thanking all the Wormies for joining us on 4 Men in a Wormhole. Bye-bye.
4 Men in a Wormhole.